Welcome to Gabby, the Marriage and Family podcast, where it will be okay. We are your hosts, marriage counselors Terrell and Tanisha Pugh. We are a family of 9 who, after the death of our daughter, learned that life was going to be okay. And now, we help other families in distress realize the same. Are you ready to heal and learn that your marriage and family will be okay? Well, let's get started. Hello, this is Terrell Pugh, and thank you so much for listening to the Gabby podcast. How would you like to do what you love, working with couples as a marriage coach or with individuals and families as a Christian counselor? Well, we can help you over at tntpugh.com. That's tntpugh.com. Hey, we'd love to help you get started today, again, working as a marriage coach or a Christian counselor. Head over to tntpugh.com. Thank you.
Welcome back to another episode of Gabby, where it will be okay. We are your hosts, Tanisha Pugh and...
Terrell Pugh, Terrell Kasim Pugh.
Why do you give your full name? Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm going to do
Terrell
with
Kasim Pugh. I don't know. That's just my style there. TKP.
TKP.
Yes, TKP.
All right,
TKP.
just going to love you. That's what I'm going to do with you.
All right, yes.
All right, but I'm so glad you've tuned in tonight. This evening, we're excited to talk with you about. Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I'm fixing her microphone.
So we're excited to talk with you guys about a topic that is near and dear to our hearts because
and all of the topics are.
They really are.
You know, whenever we say that, I always think to myself, like, it's like saying, you know, my favorite scripture is.
Right.
But you always have a favorite scripture. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go right ahead.
What is your favorite scripture?
I don't have one. I'll just say that. I have a lot of favorite scriptures.
Oh, okay. John 20:31 is really good.
Okay.
I think it's 20:31. These are written that we might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, that we might have life in his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yes. So what is our topic for today? What are we talking about today?
We are talking about why marriages fail.
All right.
Yeah. I think this is, we've been serving as marriage counselors now for, a long time. So, it's not been 20 years yet.
Right. So not
but
20.
Definitely
but
over 10 years, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so we've seen quite a bit in just a year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in just a year of counseling, you see so much.
Yes.
So you can imagine, what you see over a 10-year period.
That's right.
Yeah.
And not to mention, this year we're celebrating 21 years of marriage ourselves.
That's
yeah?
right. That's right. We're also completing our doctorate degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I know I
Yes.
mentioned that a lot, but it's a big accomplishment.
Indeed.
And more specifically, one of the areas of research for myself is in
Development.
marriage.
Yes.
Is
that's
in marriage.
Right.
I mean, development,
Mm-hmm.
how individuals develop, but also, my dissertation focuses on the topic of marriage. And
Yes, that's
I'm
right.
constantly involved in research and looking
Yeah.
at what research has to say about a lot of topics, but specifically this one, why marriages fail.
That's right. And I love that your dissertation is in this area because it's going to be very useful for what we do. Already what you're coming across in your observations has already been beneficial. So
Absolutely.
I know this can help other practitioners
For sure.
who serve marriages as well.
So pay attention, right? As always, get a pen, get a paper, get something out
Yes.
to write with.
Yes.
Be excited also about this.
That's right, that's
All
right.
the things we talk about, I believe they breathe life into you as a viewer, as a listener, for your marriage, for your family, and even for yourself individually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So let's just dive right in. Let's
Okay.
dive right in.
So why do marriages fail? That's a question that you don't necessarily have to start with why they fail. You can actually start with observing marriages that are successful,
Yeah.
marriages that do well. right?
Yes. Yes.
But let's start with where you'd like to go. Why do marriages fail? Soon to be Dr. Pugh.
Because husbands aren't listening to their wives. I
There
mean,
you
all
go.
of the research points to if you just listen to your wife, everything will be okay. No,
No, that's not sexy. That's not sexy at all.
no, no.
I want my husband to be my my leader. I want him to be the priest
Yes,
as you
yes,
are.
yes.
Although I do buck against that sometimes because I'm
Yes,
an
you do.
individual too,
Yes, you
and
do. Yep.
yeah,
And the
I
bucking is hard sometimes. No, but interestingly though, I'll share this. Statistically,
yes.
okay. Um, here's a joke. 95% of people don't want to be a statistic.
Oh. Statistically,
You get it?
95% of people don't want to be a statistic. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
you get the joke because
Yes,
they don't
yes.
want to. They're
Yes, I
already.
do.
That
Yes,
just
I
makes them
do.
by default a statistic.
Yes.
But anyway.
Oh
But no,
boy.
seriously. On average,
Yes.
more women report marital complaints and distress than husbands, and I think that plays into the age-old, happy wife, happy life, where husbands are just remaining quiet and not saying anything, not wanting to rock the boat. And so when you ask them, hey, how is your marriage and how's your relationship, they've learned not to sort of make big deals. And so they're like, yeah, I'm fine. Whereas the wife, when you ask the wife, she's going to list out all of the problems and all of the stuff.
Right.
But that's just a little interesting fact there.
I wonder if there's also a component where a lot of men aren't as in tune with their emotions, where they have language to communicate and articulate what they're experiencing.
So that's part of it.
Yeah.
Just culturally speaking, at least in Western cultures, males do receive less emotional language, even starting in the prenatal development. That's when mothers and fathers are talking to their children while still in the womb. But for male children, parents use less emotionally focused language.
Wow.
And for female children, they use more emotionally focused. And so the mental lexicon is what it's called. Males typically have a less emotional language in their mental lexicons. But that's a whole nother story.
That was good.
yeah.
That was good.
But yes, I don't want to distract us. I want to get us back to the question at hand.
Yes. Why do marriages fail?
Why do marriages fail? So I'm going to, right out the gate, give you the answer so you don't have to listen to the entire podcast or look at the whole video, although I hope you will stick around.
Yeah.
The reason why marriages fail, plain and simple,
No sex.
is I know all of you guys are thinking like, just tell us already. I feel like it's the drum roll. Yes. It's because there's a lack of friendship. At the core, there is no friendship. We can sum up all of the data, all of the research to that one experience, and it's a friendship experience. Okay. I'm going to briefly explain, and then we'll break down a lot of this into some specifics and to some things that we should do differently in order to resolve this.
Yes.
All right. I want you to think about a friend, maybe a childhood friend, your childhood experiences, children with friends. Essentially what happens is you can have a spat with that friend. 5 minutes later, you guys are back playing again.
Best friends again.
That's right. Your friend can be saying the most absurd things, but you're not going to vehemently, what's the word?
Vehemently. You
yes,
said
thank
it right.
you.
Yes.
You're not going to disagree with them so
Yes.
staunchly.
Yes.
You're going to give them space to have their opinion, to be accepted, to be heard, and you are going to make the adjustments. Okay? And so essentially what happens is friendship says that I'm willing to go the extra mile with you. Yes. I'm willing to be patient with you. I'm willing to accept you. I'm willing to do all of these things, sacrifice with you.
Put you first.
That's right.
Every now and again.
And at the core of good friendships, those elements exist.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. So let's ask another question. And this is all regarding relationships and interrelational interactions. You might find it curious that grandparents get along with their grandchildren more than parents get along with their children.
Yes.
Well, research shows us that's because grandparents are more accepting, they're more patient,
More forgiving.
they're more forgiving,
Or
they're
easier to forgive.
That's right, they're more empathetic with their grandchildren. Okay, all elements that sometimes parents lack towards their children. And so they see that their children will open up more to the grandparent than to the parent.
Yeah.
So the same elements are present in a friendship. Okay.
Absolutely.
Here's a little bit more. And then, like I said, we'll sort of digress from this and start talking about this more.
Yes.
Friendships have the element of collaboration. Collaboration. Okay. That's an important word for you in your marriage. Collaboration.
Yeah.
If you are not collaborating with your spouse,
That means working together.
that's right.
Right.
Anything else, and we may mention some of that, most likely your marriage is headed towards a divorce. Okay. Collaboration is a key component to friendship.
Yeah.
Okay. Two other things, and then I'll give up the mic.
You're fine. Oh, this is good.
And again, I just
Hitting
wanted
it
to
on
sort
the
of
nail on
get
the
to
head.
the
Yes.
information.
Yes.
Another reason, or not another reason, but another component of friendship is perception. The perception that you are liked and the perception that you are loved by that friend.
Yeah.
Again, looking at the research, even, excuse me there, sorry, I had to turn away from the mic, but even the famous John Gottman of the
Yes.
Gottman Institute, one of the things he did, he looked at all of the marital research, reviewed all of the literature, and came down to the conclusion that individuals do not feel happy in their marriage when they do not feel liked. And I'll say this, looking at the research for myself, going through as I'm doing my own research, it shows the same. It's the perception that my spouse doesn't like me. Okay? It's the perception, not the reality, meaning the spouse could actually like the other person and love the other person, but because they do not perceive it, they don't accept it.
Yeah.
That's
makes sense.
the difference between, hey, I'm doing this because I love you, versus you're doing this because you love me, but I don't accept that as love because you're not communicating to me in a way in which I can receive it.
Right.
So I perceive
You
you
don't
don't
like
like me
Yeah.
and you don't love me.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
perception. And then the last thing is lack of curiosity. Okay, in friendships, the element of curiosity exists. If you do not have the element of curiosity, then your marriage is not likely to succeed. So, for example, in a friendship, if your friend has a new shiny toy or an interest or whatever it is,
You want to know about
you
it.
want to know about it. That's right. You're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's not your interest. Hey, I see that you did this, or I see that you did that.
Yeah.
I see that you got a new hairstyle. I see that you bought new clothes. I saw that you did this. Whatever it is. You don't like fishing, but you know what? Your friend does. And so maybe you saw them on social media fishing.
Right.
Guess what you'll do as a friend? Hey, I saw you went fishing. Tell me about
try
it.
with you.
Or I want to go with you one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
That's curiosity. So in a nutshell, marriages fail because of lack of friendship.
Yes.
And lack of friendship has the components of curiosity, it has the component of collaboration, and it has the component of a healthy perception of being liked and being loved. All right, I'm gonna be quiet for a little while.
No, this is good.
Let's break down a lot of this.
I love that. I think that you summed it up in so wonderfully, because when you think about, like you said, friendships, there is this kind of never-ending place that you go to when you think of your friendships, meaning you're not always thinking that the moment you mess up or make a mistake, they're gonna leave you, they're gonna divorce you.
That's right.
There is this
Sense of security in
yes,
friendship.
that's it, a sense of security, and that's healthy for both people in that relationship to experience that. And you're right, the ease to forgive, it comes so much more natural. True.
And let me say this really quickly before you move away from the forgiveness.
Yes.
Think about the language that's used sometimes in marriages where that might be headed for divorce. So, for example, language such as, you know what, I'm not going to deal with you anymore. I'm not taking this anymore.
Yes.
Or, you know what,
I'm tired of
I'm
this.
tired of this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even the overt threats of divorce. Right? Whereas in friendships, you don't use that type of a language.
It's true.
You might call the person names,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't threaten to leave the friendship.
Right.
And so
Right.
that sense of safety is maintained.
Correct.
Whereas if you're threatening to leave the marriage, now you feel unsafe.
Yeah.
You feel uncertain.
Right. And you know what happens when you don't feel safe in a relationship, whether you know it or not, you don't completely invest all of yourself.
That's right.
There are parts of you that you hold back. No matter what you may believe, if you don't feel safe, you're not going to fully jump in.
That's
And
right.
when you don't fully jump in and you're holding parts of you back, the other person, you don't give your relationship a full-on chance to blossom and to grow.
That's right.
There's more opportunity to keep a record of wrong.
Yes.
Because you know what? I knew there's a reason I don't feel safe. There's a reason I'm not fully going to invest. And the moment you see you have a breakdown in the relationship, perhaps you've been wronged by your spouse, that's a record that you keep to reinforce why it's not okay to fully invest in the relationship.
That's right.
Versus with the friendship, because there exists that security, you feel safe. They mess up. You know what, man? you messed up again. And it's annoying that you keep doing that. But there's not that record of wrong that you hold on to as easily as. And I think that's very interesting.
Yes.
That is very
Yeah.
interesting.
And it speaks to the collaboration, right? And I'm intentionally saying collaboration.
Yeah,
That's
together.
right, because it takes together. So
Yeah.
that 100% that you're speaking of, what happens is, spouses will give 75% because they fear that if they give all of themselves, they're going to lose,
Yeah.
right? And so they hold some of themselves back in reservation because they feel as if, look, I have to save a part of me so
Yes.
that all isn't lost, so
Right.
I don't get lost.
Right.
And that's rooted in not feeling safe because there's been threats in the
Yes.
marriage that contributes to it not being safe.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And when you have two people not giving their all, I always say this, marriage works on multiplication. Marriage works on 100 times 100 equals 200. Actually, it doesn't equal 200. I just did addition. I just botched that completely up. But yes, 100
Yes.
times 100 is 1,000. Right? How much is that?
I feel like it's 10,000,
Or
but
some-
it
yeah,
could
it's
be
10,000.
1,000. Let me see.
This is why
100.
I'm a counselor, not a mathematician.
So 0, 0, 0,
So
0.
while Tanisha does the math there,
Yeah, I think it's 10,000.
yes.
I hope we're right.
Look, I need someone to drop us a comment in the comment section to tell us what 100 times 100 is, all right? And yes, I know that the shortcut way to do that is to, use the 4 zeros and then bring down the ones, but
Exactly.
we act like we don't know that. This is just a reason for you to comment
Which would
and
mean it's
engage in with
10,000.
us. Right. So here's the thing, right? Marriage is multiplication, meaning that you have to give 100% of yourself,
Yes.
right? And so then your spouse gives 100% of themselves. And by doing that, you guys essentially will multiply anything you touch, anything you put your hands to. Together, it will multiply.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's not addition, right? And this is just, philosophically speaking, the reason why it's not addition is because it's expected that your spouse isn't there necessarily to add on to you as if you had a deficiency, but they're there to multiply and expand you.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
So yes, add on to you in a sense
Yeah.
of you're gaining something you didn't have before.
Right, but it takes what you got and it just
But
pushes
that's
it to
right.
the limit.
It takes what you
Yes.
got and it multiplies it. It pushes it to the limit.
Yes.
So marriage is multiplication. And here's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
If you come to the
Thanks
marriage,
for multiplying me, baby. Thanks for expanding me, pushing me to my
Amen.
limits.
and that's what God does, right? God
Amen.
multiplies us. He expands us.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
If you come to the marriage with 50%, and 50%, I'm just an arbitrary number. That 50% could even be as a result of maybe past trauma or hurt. I haven't grown as an individual, so I'm going to come with 50%, and my expectation is that my wife is going to make up for that other 50. That's a fallacy, because now what's going to happen is you're going to look for your spouse to fill the deficiencies that you have.
Yeah.
And that's going to, that's a problem waiting to happen. You can't multiply that.
Right, right. And it's important not to confuse that, with allowing your differences to complement. That's different.
That's right. That is different.
Expecting someone to fill deficiencies or fill a void within you is completely different from
That's right.
You recognizing that, in this particular area, I'm not as strong, but you are strong in that area. I'm gonna learn from you, and I'm gonna give you some of the strengths that I have.
That's
and
right.
together we're gonna push forward. So let me ask you this: if a couple, they're listening to us right now, and they recognize and acknowledge that, you know what, we aren't friends. How do they start? Where do they start?
It's a good question. Where do you start building friendship?
Yeah.
You start building friendship on the playground at school during recess. You no.
I was already
I know,
thinking you
you-
meant figuratively.
Yeah, figuratively, right? But yes, how do you start building friendship?
Yeah.
You want to start at the very base. Think about this, right? Be very practical about this. Think about how you make friends. What's one of the first things that a person does in order to make friends?
I remember when I met my very best friend in, it was biology class, I believe, or math class. Forgive me, Crystal. It was one of them. And she was sitting next to me. I was sitting next to her. And I reached out and asked her to pass a note, or she passed a note to me from someone. And then we just started talking. Asked her, if you, I forgot what I asked her, but we asked each other some questions, and then the next thing you know, we were going to have lunch together, and we were just talking about where we were from. So it starts with you talking.
That's right, with you talking.
Yeah.
And I'll break that down even more. So in your example that you gave, you reached out,
Yes.
right? You reached out. Now you reached out probably because you were comfortable in reaching out. Okay. And so one of the first steps to becoming friendships is to make yourself friendly. And in making yourself friendly, you have to be okay with you. Meaning you have to deal with your
that's
stuff.
Good. That is good. That is good.
Because otherwise what happens is
My
when you
God.
reach out, you can project your insecurities. You can, I'll leave that there.
love
You can
that.
be, go
You
ahead.
have to be okay with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Jesus, that is good. I hope someone catch that, because that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to make yourself friendly, in order for you to be that person that can be reached out to, you have to be healthy yourself.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And that's why I said it's, marriage is like multiplication.
Yeah.
Because if you're not a 100% whole person, right? If you have things going on, and again, arbitrarily speaking, maybe you're at 50%, you are going to look to that person to make up for your deficiency.
rest,
And then think about friendships where that happens, right? Where someone is sort of dependent upon the
Yeah.
other person.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
moment that person cannot, live up to the expectation or fulfill a particular need, then the person with the deficiency or insecurity begins to, they can complain, they maybe begin to accuse, their insecurities essentially begin to show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that begins the cycle of problems.
Right.
And so the first step is, yes,
Becoming a healthy
you have to
individual.
become a healthy individual first.
So let me ask you, so this is this is good advice for someone who's not already married. Does that mean that if I recognize that I need to be healthier, to be a better friend to you, for example, does that mean I can't work on being a friend to you until I get my stuff together, until I deal with my stuff?
Okay, good question. Good question. Excuse me. And so now we go back to the word that I'd used in the beginning, the collaboration, right? Because what happens is several, human interactions are complex, and no one dynamic or one system operates in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, especially when we're talking about a marriage. It's not like you can say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go on a hiatus while I get my stuff together and then I'll come back to you.
And be when you're in this
Right,
marriage, right?
especially if we're talking you have children, you have life together, bills,
Correct.
money, that type of thing, right?
Yes.
So here's the collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
As the other spouse, right, understanding that your spouse may need to work on themselves,
Mm-hmm.
you're there to help, you're
Mm-hmm.
there to support, you're there to understand. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, as a friend,
Mm.
let's say your friend had things going on with
Mm-hmm.
them. Are you going to say, hey, friend, I don't want to be your friend right now?
Yeah, you go deal with you. Come back to me when you're fixed up.
Exactly. And I'll say this, and individuals who do take that stance
Mm-hmm.
usually take that stance because of repeated injury
Yes, it's
from
true.
other relationships in the past.
That's true.
And so they don't want to expose themselves to that again.
Correct.
And with that said, they themselves may not be healthy,
Right.
right? They themselves may need healing.
Yeah.
So a healthy individual, in being a friend, understands that I'm going to be there for my spouse while they work through
Whatever
their
they have to
personal
work
stuff,
through.
right?
Yeah.
And again, this is in severe cases because not everyone will be in that situation, but at the same time, there are individuals that are indeed in that situation.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
You know, I see it so often where two unhealthy people come together in a relationship, and it's
And really quickly,
yeah.
I just want to throw this back in here,
Mm-hmm.
just to tie some of our thinking together.
Mm-hmm.
That's also where the perceptions come in. Remember earlier where I mentioned perception? So if one individual, let's say the unhealthy spouse, has skewed perception and maybe they deal with a lot of insecurities, right? No matter what their other spouse does, they may not perceive that they're loved and they may
Right.
not perceive that they're cared for,
Yeah.
which will eventually lead to divorce because from their perspective,
You don't like me.
my spouse doesn't like me,
Yeah.
right? They don't love me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's where the other healthy spouse comes in and says, okay, look, I'm going to really do those things that communicate to you love and so on and so forth. But I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes, go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I was just gonna say, and I'm gonna start over by starting here. You know, I think if I recognize that, you know what, there's some personal work I need to work on because I have some perceptions that are not healthy and that are sabotaging our relationship, or maybe it's projecting onto you. I think a good starting point, and this can be for anyone who's listening, is to start by being honest and confronting that.
Yes.
You know, don't be defensive. Be open and allow your partner to help you see some of the blind spots that we all have. We all have those blind spots. And I think if you start by being fully transparent and vulnerable as you can be, right? Because we know that if you're hurting and if there are things that you've not dealt with, that might be very difficult for you.
Yes.
But start where you can. And I think together, if your partner can collaborate with you, you two can work on building your friendship as you heal.
That's
so
right.
it can happen together, but both of you must be very honest with what's happening.
Absolutely.
We would also recommend seeking some kind of life coach or counseling,
Absolutely.
you know, mentoring, you know, that may be apart from the work you're doing together.
Yes.
So do work individually so that you're continuing to grow and heal. This way, the work that you do together can grow leaps and bounds.
Yes. Yes.
And so I said that because I don't want anyone to ever feel discouraged that, oh man, you know, I'm not in a good place to be a good friend to you because I have so much baggage to work through.
Right.
And that can be discouraging when you discover that. And I want to say to you, if that's what you've discovered, that's congratulations. That's a great starting point. That's a wonderful starting point, because now you know you know where you are, so you can start to plan to get to a different place.
That's right. That's right. And I'll mention this also, although we may not speak extensively about this now, but with the collaboration, growing together is important. Okay?
Yes, indeed.
Because what happens is spouses, they get married and they set out in life and they say, okay, this is my career, this is your career, and they begin journeying. And they start out on the same path, but because there's no collaboration, they develop different interests, they develop different likes, right? I'm going on my guy's trip, you're going on your girl's trip, I'm taking my fishing trips, I want to bring you along, but you don't want to come along.
Right.
You want me to, watch soap operas with you, but I don't want to do that. And so eventually what happens over time, as we're journeying, we end up on different paths.
Yes.
And so there comes a point where we look and it looks like we're so far apart because we haven't grown together. We haven't collaborated.
Yes.
So make sure you don't do that. And if you are at the point where you are on different paths, you can continue walking that path, but you have to walk back towards each other.
Yeah.
So that means you have to make realistic assessments where you're at and then realistic adjustments to start walking back towards each other.
Yeah.
And what that is going to look like practically, that's going to look like you forcing yourself, and I say forcing because that's what it will be, forcing yourself to engage in the things that your spouse likes and interested in, right?
That's right.
I don't care if you don't like...
Ooh, you said I don't care. This is serious. Y'all pay attention.
But yes, I don't care if you don't like, give me something here.
I don't like fishing. I just can't get it.
Right.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
We're not even going to eat the fish. We're just going to throw them back. What's the point?
Right. And we use that because we live in Georgia, and that's a huge pastime.
And I like fishing, by the way.
Yeah. It could be anything. It could be hunting, going to the gun range. I'm naming a lot of guy stuff, right? But maybe it's going to the spa. Maybe it's traveling. Maybe it's having a romantic night out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you don't like, that's not going to matter if you want to be friends and grow back towards your spouse. Okay? There's no way around that. There's no alternative. There's no other secret antidote or, sage advice that you're going to hear to get you connected to your spouse.
That's right. So while one spouse is reaching out to show interest and to partake in the activities or interests of their spouse, the other should really look to invite their spouse in.
That's right.
It really, it's hard to see a couple where they're on such different career paths. They're just so very different, and neither feel the need to include the other in what's going on.
Yes.
One spouse could they just know you go to work and you come home and that's it. And then we have Christmas dinners and we do Thanksgiving and we have our week of family vacation where we go with the kids and that's it.
Yes.
That's not living together as one. That's not growing together as one.
Right. I'll say this. You and your spouse, when we say one, and when Scripture says one, understand that you and your spouse are one resource together. When you think about resources, right? A husband and wife together, that's one resource. It can't be split apart.
Okay.
And so when you think of you and your spouse in that way, you start to move differently. You start to behave differently because you start to say or ask yourself, if I make this decision, how does this impact my spouse? If I give of my time here or if I give of myself there, I'm taking from the resource that is us. It's not just me making a decision, but my decisions are also impactful to my spouse as well. And I'm saying that because some spouses feel, well, I can do things apart from my spouse and it not impact them. Everything you do is impactful to your spouse because you both are one shared resource or one you're one.
That's right.
And so if I take 10% from me, that's me taking 10% from the
Us.
marriage, from
Yeah.
the us.
That's right. Which, when you say that, it makes me think of, you know, couples where one spouse may be a physician, and the other spouse is not. Um, I love that you said the two are still one resource, because
Yes.
what's taken away or what's invested by one affects
That's
the
right.
to get the both of them.
That's right.
Um,
What I don't give to you,
mhm.
I'm taking from you.
Yes, and I remember when when we started our journey, for the doctoral programs that we're both working on. Um, I remember that was one of the first bit of advice we had received in our residencies. Uh, it was a blessing that we were there together.
Yes.
But the advice was this: look. This message is for those of you who are here to support your spouse who is embarking on this journey of obtaining your doctoral or your terminal degree. This is a commitment that is not just from them, it's a commitment from you as well.
That's right.
And that applies across the board. The emotional investment that you put outside of your home elsewhere, or financial investments, or your time, right? Time, which is you can't put value on that, is, like you said, time that's being taken from both.
That's right.
Um,
So I'll say this before we run out of time.
yes.
Excuse me. Some other things I want to. Excuse me if you. I'm so sorry. I think I had something to eat and it's trying to come back here.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm
No
okay. I'm okay.
reflux
Yeah, a little bit of
happening, right?
reflux maybe.
I'm sorry.
But yes, some other things I wanted to mention. The question is why marriages fail.
Yes.
Right. And so we've narrowed it down essentially to friendship, and
Lack
we're
of
talking
friendship.
about lack of friendship and elements that don't exist and should exist.
Right. And this, by the way, is not just coming from the literature. It's coming from what we actually hear
And observe as
see
well. That's
in
right.
couples. The couples who have the most difficult, trying times are couples where we would get to the question of, how is your friendship? And they would, I don't think we have a friendship.
That's right.
So yes, I'm sorry, dear.
No, this is good. This is good. So I'm going to mention these other two C words:
Okay.
criticism and contempt. Okay,
boy.
those
Horsemen
when
of
those
the apocalypse.
that's right. When those two things are present, you also see that the marriage is probably headed for divorce and it's going to fail.
Yes.
Okay. Now the criticism, the criticism, we all know what that sounds like. We know what that feels like. It's when we feel like that fingers being pointed at us, or we're being scolded, or even it could even be an idea that's being shot down, right? So maybe the person isn't being critical, but maybe they're not being supportive. So even in that way, when you don't feel supported, again, it goes back to the perception. I perceive that you don't like me. Okay. And so criticism, if you are critical, stop it immediately. It's killing your marriage. It's killing your friendship.
Yes, yes.
You friends typically are not critical towards friends.
That's right.
When you have to tell your friend something that you feel is going to hurt their feelings,
You
first of
preference
all, right, you preference it. And the reason you preference it is because you've already thought about it in an empathetic way
Yes.
and said to yourself and asked yourself, how can I deliver this?
Yes.
With spouses who do not have friendships, they don't think about that. They
That's
don't think
right.
about the empathy. They don't think, how can I tell this without hurting their feelings? They just say it. And so you have to start pulling away from the critical behaviors and develop empathy and love and acceptance for your spouse.
Yes.
And then the other thing is the contempt.
Yeah.
The contempt,
and
yes.
just so you know,
Go
and
ahead.
that does take actual energy. It's not something that happens by osmosis.
That's right.
It's something that you have to be intentional about. You have to go in identifying that I want to build my friendship with my spouse. And so the things that I know I engage in that takes away from that, I'm going to cease and desist. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to stop that. And because if up to this point that's been a natural response for you, that's why it's going to take even more energy and effort. because something that you naturally would knee jerk and respond to automatically, now you have to retrain yourself and tell yourself to do something different, respond differently.
That's right.
So it will take work. It will take work. It is worth it. Notice I didn't say but. It is worth it. It will take work, and the work is worth it.
That's
you
right.
want a long-lasting, satisfying, healthy marriage that can be looked back at as a legacy for your children, your
Yes.
children's children. Put in the work.
That's right. That's right. And I'll say this to give you some ways. The way you eliminate criticism and the way you deliver difficult things is you start it up. You warm up first. Don't just jump in.
Yeah.
Right? We teach individuals two things. One, the love method, which is something that we talked about in a couple of podcasts ago.
Yes.
Right? Love, which basically means leave opinions, validate experience. So you're not going to be critical. Instead, you're going to leave all your criticism, leave all your opinions out, and then validate their experience. Right?
Yes.
And in addition to that, just remember the sandwich method also. Some of you may
Yes.
be familiar with that. Sandwich basically means you have bread, you have your meat, and then you have your bread. The bread is something nice. Hey, you know what? You've been doing wonderful. I love you. I love that we're progressing. That's the bread. The meat is, and I think that yesterday we had a hiccup. I think yesterday, we could have done a lot better. This happened or that happened or whatever the meat is, whatever it is you actually need to tell them. And then you add more bread at the bottom. Again, I love the progress you've been making. I really want us to continue. I'm pointing this out only because I want us to continue. And so that's a bread method instead of just saying you messed up yesterday.
Yeah,
That
you
sounds
gotta
very
get it
critical.
together.
Yeah.
I love the use of collaborative language.
There goes the collaboration again.
That's right.
That's
Us, we.
It's all throughout friendship.
Yeah.
And so then the last one I wanted to mention here is contentment. Contentment is essentially the feeling that your ideas, everything that flows from you are essentially superior, right? And so think of it as you sticking your nose up at your spouse. Now, you might think to yourself, I don't stick my nose up at my spouse. I'm not that type of a person. I'm nice, I'm fair. But you know what contentment could look like? You know what it can sound like? It can sound like this.
What?
I don't know if I want to do it that way. I think this way is a little better. It could be as subtle as that.
Really?
Minimizing your spouse's ideas and opinions.
That sounds really subtle.
Yeah.
I would not think that's contentment.
That's like a backdoor contentment. Now,
Wow.
of course, if things are a lot worse, it can sound a lot worse and it'd be a lot more overt.
Right.
But it's those little instances that can make a person feel like, and people have said it. I feel like when my spouse talks to me, I feel like it's condescending.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
I feel like they don't value my opinion or value my ideas.
That's right.
They make it sound like all my ideas are ridiculous or, or I'll say a bad word, or stupid. I don't like saying that word.
I know you don't. I know you don't. This is good. This is really good. So what I'm hearing in all of this and what we've said in all of this is that the root cause for relationships failing, marriages failing, 'cause that's what we're talking about,
That's right.
is a lack of friendship.
At the core, lack of friendship.
Lack of friendship. And we're talking healthy friendships. We're not talking about friendships where, you're friends in front of each other's faces and then behind each other's backs.
that's
you're
not a friendship.
not thinking well of each other. Yes, that's not healthy friendship. So we're talking healthy friendships where we're accepting of each other. We create that atmosphere that is accepting, which doesn't mean that we co-sign on everything our friends do.
Right.
But it does mean that we're always looking for an opportunity to understand.
And just to call back to what I said earlier
Yes.
in the podcast, that's where the curiosity comes
That's
in.
right.
Right. So
Yes.
when Tanisha says this doesn't mean we're accepting of everything.
Right.
Right. So your spouse says, hey, let's go.
Jump off a bridge.
Right. You're not
No.
going to say, yes, because you're my friend. I'm going to jump off the bridge with you.
Please don't do that.
No, but you're going to get curious. Hey,
Yes.
why do you want to do this? What's
Yeah.
behind it? What are you
Yeah.
feeling? What are you thinking? What
That's
are your
right.
experiences? Spending
Ah.
time with you. Curiosity requires time.
It also reminded me of something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Friends cares about the well-being of their friends.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Which means that if I see that there are some things that are happening that you're displaying that is not in your best interest,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to help you. I'm going to want to help you. I think
That's
there's
right.
even a scripture that speak about that, right?
Mm.
Of how we're to be each other's, how we're to be accountable to one another.
Oh yeah, there's certainly
How,
several
mhm.
scriptures that take on that theme. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an element too. Caring about the well-being of your friends. I know that's not what we're talking about, but it
No, but
just
it's
made me
true.
think of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Whatever you think about, whenever you think about healthy friendship, chances are
mhm.
that is an element that's needed in your relationship in order for it to be healthy.
Yes, for it to thrive.
That's right.
So,
And I'll mention
mhm.
this also.
Yes.
When you look at the marriages of
Mhm.
individuals who go through arranged marriages,
Mm.
right? So go ahead and do a little bit of research on arranged marriages, right? And look at the successful arranged marriages,
Mhm.
and look at the elements that that develop in that dynamic.
Mhm.
It's a friendship.
Indeed.
It's a friendship that
It's,
grows.
that's
It's a
right.
mutual respect that
Yes.
grows. It's a collaboration
Mhm.
that grows.
Mhm.
All of the elements we talk about begin to grow and become present in the marriage.
Mhm.
And then a marriage that started out by two people being forced to be with each other
Yes.
now want to be with each other
Mhm.
because they've developed a friendship.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that brings me back to a little bit of us, right?
Mm.
And what I mean by that is, we beat the odds, didn't we?
Mm.
We got married when I was 20. You were 21.
Oh, no, you were
Um,
19
Even younger.
and I was 20.
Okay. Wow. Are you
Yeah.
sure?
Mm-hmm.
We have to do the math on that again. Let's
Yes.
not do math right now, though. But wow, we were so young.
Yeah. What year
And
did we get married? What year?
2001 and 2. I
Ah,
knew that
I, sc-
21.
I scored one for the
No,
guys.
no.
What
I
year?
knew
What year
that.
did we get married?
2002.
Okay, all right. There
You
we go.
graduated
Yes.
in 2001. I graduated in 2000. We got married in 2002. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What month and day?
Really, August 31st. That's an easier
Mm.
question.
What year did we meet?
We met in 1998.
Wow, you remembered. Aw, that's really cool.
Yes.
What day?
What day of the week?
No,
Like
never
like
mind.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was a
I won't
weekday.
ask that.
It was a weekday.
Because we met in school.
I guarantee it was a
But
weekday.
You're so silly. I'm really tickled you remembered. That's awesome.
Of course. Why would I not remember
Because
that?
you're a guy.
'Cause I'm a
kidding.
guy?
That's
Oh,
my
boy.
bias information.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast there, right? Talk about bias information and
But-
communication, how that impacts the way we talk to each other. But yes.
Oh boy.
Mhm.
We have a friendship.
Yes.
You are my very best friend. You
Mhm.
really are. I can talk to you about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I create an atmosphere, or at least I try to,
Mhm.
where you can talk to me about anything,
Yeah.
right? And I think that really helped us grow together, because of our friendships and we did do a lot of things together.
That's
And
right.
not that we're saying that's the ingredient your marriage must have.
No, we are saying that.
Oh.
I
You
am
must do
I am
everything
saying
together?
I am saying that. Yes, if you want to be good friends, and this advice might be controversial, okay?
Oh boy.
Now, I'm not literally meaning everything by the T, but you do the reality of it is you do need to increase your level of quality time with each other to build your friendship.
So you're gonna let me stay in the bathroom when you poop?
What in the world type of nonsense is this? Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to edit that. This is a family show. This is a family podcast. Gabby, Marriage
gosh.
and Family. Family.
Yes, these are family things.
That's not
these
a family.
Are natural family
No,
things.
that's not a
these
family.
are natural things that
No.
happen,
No,
okay?
no, no, no. That's not a family thing. I tell you,
You're
if we
putting
had
your hand that you don't want me to say anymore.
oh no, I'm just saying, if we had producers, we'd probably have an ethics conversation after this. No.
Oh my goodness, you use the bathroom. Everyone uses the bathroom, and if you don't, you wouldn't be alive. So it's a natural thing.
Yes, this is
Okay.
true. But yes, okay. So my point is,
Yes.
friendship requires quality time, and if you are trying to answer this question of how can I develop a better relationship with my spouse and forego the idea that you can that you have to spend time with them, it's not going to work. If you're trying to circumvent this and say how can I better my marriage, but I'm not willing to spend time with my spouse, that's not going to work because you're not going to develop your friendship.
Yeah.
It's just it just won't work.
That's true.
At best, you will become really good life partners, and you may be able to do the business of marriage together, like paying bills, maybe give a healthy, a loving household to the children, right?
Go to events together.
Go to events together, yes. But your marriage, as it was designed,
would not be
that will not be
thriving the way
right.
that it could.
Yeah.
The way that it could.
So yes, spend as much time together as possible.
Yes. You don't have to do everything together. But
Yeah,
you
you value alone time. That's important.
Indeed.
But I just don't want to give the misconception that you can do this
right
while majority of your time is apart.
Correct.
Majority of your time has to be together.
Indeed. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yes.
the takeaways again: work on your friendship, get rid of contempt, get rid of the criticism, watch out for, identify whether you need to do personal work.
That's right.
And watch out for your perception.
That's right.
If you have unhealthy perceptions of how your spouse feel about you.
That's right. And with the perceptions, remember, be willing to make adjustments so that you can meet whatever need it is. So if your spouse says, hey, I need you to love me this way, be willing to make the adjustment because the perception, your spouse's perception, is important.
Yes.
Don't bring flowers if they like chocolate. Don't give a foot rub if they like a back rub. Don't give them your love language if it's not theirs. Just because you're providing it doesn't mean they're perceiving it as something that communicates love to them.
That's right.
Be willing to adjust in that way.
Yeah. It's like someone coming to you and saying that they're thirsty and you decide to give them bacon.
It's just like that, right? Because
yes.
the bacon.
I like bacon.
Right.
Bacon is delicious.
Exactly.
Here, take some bacon.
But bacon has nothing to do with my thirst right now.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I know that sounds like a silly example, but it's a perfect example because I need exactly what I'm asking for, not what you want to give me.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and spouses get, they get angry at that.
Yeah,
right?
So you got passionate there, Terrell.
Oh, no, but no, it's true. Spouses get angry. You mean to tell me I have to give my spouse what they're asking me for?
Yes, you decided to marry them.
Exactly. And here's the crazy part of all of this. Everything that we're talking about.
Yes.
We do it for money.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We do it all of this for money.
Where is the offering cup? Where is the offering plate?
If you go to a job,
yes,
right, and your boss, human resources, your coworker, your employee, if you have employees, whomever it is.
Don't go there, Terrell. Come on, you're going too far now.
You're so silly. If they say, hey, I need you to do this, chances are you're going to do it.
Even if it's not your love language.
Even if it's not something you want to do. You may
if it's not
grunt.
your strength,
That's
you'll
right.
go and you'll study and you'll figure out how to deliver it.
That's right. Maybe we need to start paying people. I think that's what it is.
Ooh,
there should be a monetary incentive.
We should charge
No, I'm
tariff.
just joking.
No, we're not going to pay you to do what you signed up for.
Right.
We're going to charge you when you don't do what you signed up for. No,
I mean, hey, you could do it that way too.
Yes.
But all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I hope a lot of this is making sense. If you are struggling in this area, if you feel that your marriage is headed towards divorce, or it's just rocky, reach out to us, reach out to a counseling service somewhere. Just reach out to a friend that you can confide in and begin
Yes.
talking through this.
Yes.
But above all, know that you are going to make it through this.
That's right.
You will make it through this. Your family will make it through this.
Hmm.
And
You'll be okay.
Hello, this is Terrell Pugh, and thank you so much for listening to the Gabby podcast. How would you like to do what you love, working with couples as a marriage coach or with individuals and families as a Christian counselor? Well, we can help you over at tntpugh.com. That's tntpew.com. Hey, we'd love to help you get started today, again, working as a marriage coach or a Christian counselor. Head over to tntpew.com. Thank you.